Well, hello there, listener of Intuition Your First Sense. This is Vicky, and this episode is blowing my mind. I knew it was coming. I had some sense of planning around it, but I honestly don't pay a lot of attention to how many episodes are out. I do look at my numbers, but you know what, honestly, it's more about getting the information out there and celebrating with the emails and the messages that I get after you listen to an episode. But guys, I almost said y'all, but can I say y'all if I'm not from the South? Y'all, I don't want to appropriate. Anyway, 150 episodes. 150 episodes. I am so grateful to everyone who listens, who shares, who comments, who posts, who sends things back to me, who requests to be on. I am grateful because this process of podcasting was divinely pushed right out of me. Yes, I have always had the gift of gab. And as a matter of fact, I can have a full-blown conversation with a fence post, as my late husband used to say, and have a really good time with it too. Hey, it used to be a tree. It has sentient energy to it. I have learned so much doing this process of podcasting. It has made me a better business person. It's certainly made me a better coach because I've always listened really well with all of my antennae. But I listen now with a certain level of like a filter almost. So if somebody says something that gives me angel bumps, I'll write it down because I know that's an episode that must resonate with others. And speaking of episodes that must resonate with others, you guys really rocked out Trusting Intuition, the episode on that, the Intuition 101, and all of the episodes where I talk about a soul's process. So what that tells me is there need to be more of those. So moving into 22, I will have much more information on the actual developing of intuition and the process of souls. And if there are questions out there, please send them along. I'm grateful because the podcast was actually listed as the top 20 new podcasts of 21 for education. And that's exciting to me because at one point I did want to be a teacher and in the traditional school system. And then I realized, no, that's not for me because I love kids, but teaching comes with a lot of kids. And even if they grow up and you're in the collegiate world, you're still a lot of kids. And I gotta be honest, my own kids did me in. So I like to appreciate kids intermittently and not on a regular basis. So the teaching, I figure, falls into we are all teachers in some regard for ourselves and then for other people in our lives. And I am so grateful for the platform of podcasting to be able to share this. And yes, there are many plans for 22. The app is doing well. As I record this, it's being assembled. By the time you hear this, it will be live. No, I have no clue what I'm calling it. The requests have always been Vicky to Go, but I'm not sure if that's what it will be called. So, hey, check out the show notes for the links to find out what the heck did Vicky call this. And within the app it's kind of weird to be recording knowing this is going out in the future. I'm just get confused about what tense to use sometimes, which is not unlike doing an intuitive reading because you see things that happen in the future, potentially happen in the future, and yet you have to take the steps today to help the client create that. So I feel like I'm always living in a couple different time dimensions, which can make me a bit spacey, I admit that. So the process of this podcasting has actually led to creating of the app because there's so many places that I feel like we get pulled into, social media and directions we get pulled. Social media, podcasting, YouTube, Fireside, all amazing platforms. Clubhouse now, there's just so much that it's overwhelming. And one of the things that I like to do is create efficiency and peace in our world, and at least in Vicky's world. So the idea of the app has been there for many, many years, back when you'd have to hire a full-time developer to have it work. In the last year, I've put a lot of time into researching it and how I would go about it. And now that I am hip deep at this point of creating it, it will also become its own platform where if you're looking for any of my content, that's where you go. And of course, I'll still be on social media, still doing the podcast and courses and classes and live events. So this efficiency part of it, the intention is to then take kind of what I do here in the podcast, but have interaction, like have you be on live so that we can interact and I can answer questions directly and maybe do a couple spot readings. I used to love doing that when I was doing radio. So this app, I feel like, is going to expand upon the podcast that all of you have created, really, because if you weren't listening to it, I would not have the numbers. So I appreciate that you're participating and lending your energy to this, which then gives me ideas of how to move forward and what to create. And keep the ideas coming intuitively through text, through messaging, through email, through the podcast reviews, all of that. So, and I'll keep creating. So one of the things that this has helped me learn is consistency, because I believe if you're going to tell somebody that you're going to be there every Wednesday, you better be there every Wednesday. Now, were there times in doing this, and anyone who's done a podcast can really appreciate this, where I was sliding in at 10 p.m. and this posts at midnight because of my time, midnight my time, because I want it to hit all time zones. For those of you who are listening in Africa, Botswana, Hawaii, what was the other one? I can never say that one, but you know where you are. Barbados, Australia, a couple in Russia, and what is the one there's one I'm forgetting that I'm so grateful every week it charts. I'm sorry. I will figure out what that is and give you a shout out on next episodes. So it's taught me consistency. And along with anything else, whether you're moving your body, you're drinking more water, you're eating better, you're talking to yourself kindly, you are writing, you are meditating, you are taking a course and have to do your homework, consistency is where our success is. The big jumps are not sustainable. At least it's not what I've experienced and what I've helped pick people up off the floor when they've done big leaps and then have a little bit of a retroactive freak out. So the consistency of this podcast, listening and subject matter, and the commitment. And when I think of showing up at that on Wednesday in wherever you're listening to this, I feel a commitment to you that I bring the information forth. And if it were just for myself, even though I'm most of the time sitting here talking to myself, I feel all of you with me. And not in a woo-woo sense, but in a truly connective way. And yes, I do feel a certain obligation to present that. But you know what that does? Rather than bring pressure to me, it asks me to show up, to elevate my own self, and to be consistent in my own life. And it's carried over into other areas. I'm so grateful for the connections and the people I've met through this podcast. Many of my coaching clients came to me through this podcast. And I'm incredibly grateful. I feel like the universe would have lined us up in some way, but what a great way to meet people when they're coming through the door already interested in developing their intuition, kind of knowing my personality because you get to see it through here, and also bringing their own gifts and directness to what we're creating. So the connections of the guests that have come on, and in the next 25, 50 episodes, the people that I will have on are the people that have been in my life for however long, but they will be people who I know to be amazing practitioners, or they're contributing to their community in a way that expands and helps people's lives. Because I love that I've had guests on and people that I've got to meet because they came on as guests. And yet I have a knowing that it's really important to me to maintain those connections. And most of these people, to be clear, I have been saying for a year and a half, when are you coming on? When are you coming on? When are you coming on? And now they're like, okay, I'm ready to come on, which is great. So the people, you'll likely hear a difference in the interviews because I've known some of these people for 10, 15 years. And the gratitude I have that they would be on with me, because it takes a little bit of bravery to walk on to a podcast with someone who really has very little edit button. So those connections will continue to be hopefully connections for you. And we used to have a store called Connections. And for this reason, the community was really important. And now the world is my community. And I am open to adding so many more people to it while introducing those that I have benefited from their services. And I just want you to meet. And what that does is it also creates content, because when we're sharing our lives, when we're sharing what we've learned or experienced or the practices that they maintain, well, it also brings content to people's lives. And then I like to think of this as, a little bit of the sampler or the buffet, where you can get everything relates to intuition, but you can get, like, I'll have my acupuncturist on, and I have a couple psychiatrists who are coming on, and I have a Akashic record, a woman who I have known, oh my goodness, I'm not sure how long I've known her. I would have to do the math, and I don't want to do that right now, so no point in delaying this. So the content I'll be bringing in this next year is a lot of their information and how it relates to how you can connect with your soul and how you can download your own information and how, you can walk in the world completely integrated as a soul and a human being, so that you feel the surety of yourself and you feel peace and you feel grounded, consistent in your own love of yourself. So that's going to be the intention for everyone. And how we get there, there'll be some episodes that resonate with some, and some other topics that will light someone else up. Human design, we're going to have someone come on and talk about human design. I just did my 6-month schedule, so some of these are at the top of my head and some of it has gone.
Hi there. Did you know that you can join me for Wisdom Wednesday, the last Wednesday of every month, where there's a subject that we cover, and it has to do with developing your intuition and coaching, and it's a supportive group where we laugh and we do a great meditation at the end, and it allows you to connect with others from the comfort of wherever you are, and for $8 a month gives you a little bit of connection to your own soul. So join us, won't you? Go to vickibaird.com/booking and book your subscription today.
Throughout the year, I'll be announcing the new courses that are coming out. I have a soul course that is available on the app, and one that creates an experience of a live private group with myself so that you can work through the coursework. It's self-guided, but I'm there to answer questions or to, maybe poke you a little bit. And as I'm recording this, it's actually the winter solstice. And it worked out well in my schedule to throw a couple episodes down. And I love the solstice because I feel the most balanced. When we're in the solstice, it's a perfect time for reflection, introspection, and also for intention setting. So I thought, what a great day to reflect on podcasting, creating this podcast and how it's opened up my life and expanded my network of amazing people. And it's also a great time for intention setting of what and how do I want to be in the world and how do I want to bring this forward. So I encourage you to do the same. You may not be, reminiscing on 150 episodes of a podcast, but you have made several trips around the sun. You can do reflection of that as well, no matter what time. I just love the synchronicity that I happen to have a couple hours to put some podcasts in the can, as we say, and it fell on this day. And that actually didn't occur to me until I started recording this, and I'm just realizing that it's the solstice, and that this tradition of embracing our inner self and reflecting on who we are and where we'd like to go has been in effect for many, 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 many millennia. As long as humans have existed, this happens because we get inspired by where we are, and we also feel pulled to where we're going. So part of the content conversation is this is where we've been. I've talked about spirits. I've talked about what's a ghost, what's not a ghost, how you can connect to your own intuitive sense. What's it like to feel if that feeling hasn't if feeling hasn't been your place of comfort. And then all the other subjects that are kind of blanking on my head right now, intuitive myths. And I'm so grateful also for the connections that have been created. Josh, who started the podcast out, who you heard a couple episodes ago as well. And he'll be coming back, making some more guest appearances because he just asks the best questions. I'm grateful. He used to edit the podcast as well. Doris, who has edited for me. My daughter, Kayla, who is editing. Michelle, who gets it to you. Michelle does the actual loading up of it and posting and making sure that you know it's available and that it gets pushed to all the platforms. This doesn't happen because I'm sitting here by myself. It used to. Josh and I were it for the first, 100 episodes. And then, 75 episodes, somewhere around there. And then gradually the team has grown and will continue to, as I hire those that do what they do best so that I can do what I do best. It's helped me create systems, which I've already loved, but to put content out in the world. I was explaining this to someone the other day, and I wonder if it would be interest to you, because they didn't realize how much goes on with even getting the podcast episode. So I come up with a topic, I sit down, I do my bullet points and a little bit of research if it's something that I don't feel like I can fly off the top of my knowing and my experience with. Then I write that out. I sit down, block out my time to record. I upload it. It then gets edited with the commercials and the music and all of that, and some of my so's and my ums removed. Not a lot, because I like the conversational process. And then it gets uploaded to Libsyn, who, with the show notes, which admittedly need an upgrade, and then with all of the bells and whistles that you have to clicks and toggles and everything that you have to put in there so it can be ranked, so it goes in the right direction. And then from there, social media posts are created, then a blog is created, then a newsletter is created. And from there, it gets uploaded into an email server, that vickybear.com, if you want more information. That doesn't always get promoted on social media because I'm so grateful to my email list. Often they get information and promotions before it goes on the public domains. And then what happens? It gets archived. Oh, and then it gets transcribed. And then it gets archived so that some of these will then be contributing to a book. So all of this stuff happens behind the scenes, right? And there's a lot of research as we go along too, because algorithms are always changing. And I trust Spirit algorithm. I'm aware, and we definitely do our research, but I really trust in what is the universal broadcasting system, which I believe are my guides talking to your guides, and the process of connecting and synchronization and all of that. So that's a little bit of what happens and what has developed over time in creating a podcast that then expands. And I have a couple opportunities that I'm researching right now that I can't quite talk about yet, that the podcast has, garnered some attention. And that is because you guys listen. And so do you see the circle? And I call it my circle of gratitude. It's like the recycling symbol. I do this because I'm so grateful that you listen, and I'm so grateful that you're interested in the information, and that it allows me to share at no cost, which is important to me. I do have to make a living. There is a business aspect to this, but it's really important to me that there are as many people as possible who can access this, who don't have to pay for it, because that work that you're doing, and even if something goes in and you maybe think about holding the door for someone when you're rushed, or being appreciative that you're in line because maybe it's helped you from being in an accident you don't even know about, just all of these things that I end up bringing, it then feeds me, because I think of the excitement of when I was learning all of this stuff. And it was hard to find this information in a grounded way. So the systems that get created help to stay on board and for this to continue to be a mostly well-oiled machine, because there are changes, people's lives change. They step out of the program, they come back in. And it also helps me to expand, because then I have to go do my learning and research and expansion and meet with my guides, which some of these energy updates and podcast creating and blog writing create the impetus for me to actually sit down with my guides, because I'll be like, okay, what do you feel like would be the best subject for today? And I love that, because just this week I got an email that said, your guides must have been talking to my guides, because this is exactly what I was working on and didn't know what the next step was. And I, in the podcast, gave her a suggestion of a next step. And that just tickles me. That just lights me up, because it makes me feel like the guides I'm listening to my guides. I have no doubt that I'm being guided, even in the ascended masters and above. And yet, human-wise, it can get a little crowded in there. So I want to know what you want to hear about. I want to know what subjects interest you. And like I've always said, if I don't know about it, I will go get someone to be on the show who can speak to it. What interests you? And how can I help you to feel more connected to your soul? And don't worry about how you phrase it. If you just throw some words together, I will get the download of what you're speaking of. That's my specialty. And then I can help to form that. And eventually it will make it to the show. And in saying that, I am doing 150 episode celebration, and I'm doing 3 things. I'm doing a giveaway. Actually, it's one thing giveaway and 3 things within the giveaway. And the way that you get entered into all of these is to either email me Vicky@VickyBaird.com. That's Vicky with an I at VickyBaird.com. Leave a review on the platforms. Thank you for liking it, doing the stars and all that. And to the person who gave me a 1-star, hi. Well, you're probably not listening, right? If you gave a 1-star. I don't know why that tickled me. It absolutely did. Anywho, leave a review and let me know you've left the review, because it can be tricky to get your own reviews on your podcast. It's the most ridiculous thing that it's just this. If anybody knows a quicker way, I have researched everything. I actually have to go out and pretend I'm someone else so that I can read the reviews on my own podcast, because for whatever reason, we don't get them behind the scenes. So send me a copy that you've left the review, screenshot it. You can put it in any of the social media messages. I will see it eventually. Sometimes they're hidden and I have to go looking for them. Or you can email it to me, and some kind of review, some kind of question about what you would like to see. Basically engage here, because I miss people. I want the interaction, but I also want to bring stuff that's relevant. So what's the giveaway, you ask? You ask great questions. There are 3. I'm going to do 1 coaching session, intuitive coaching session. So that's a reading. Yes, I can see future events. That part's easy. It will likely not be a mediumship reading unless somebody bangs on my head so loud that I feel like, oh boy, I better talk about this or give the message. So intuitive coaching session. We could talk about blocks. We can look at what you're dealing with in your life right now. We can do some neural pathway work. We can have some fun. So 1 session. I will be gifting a soul course, which has a value of $279, and it drips content to you once a week for 4 weeks. And that's where you can get into the live community group and receive support from me. And once you get that in, like you have it, you own it. It's like yours. And then also 1 oracle card class, which I have up on my website or in the app. That's a $27 value. The sessions are $165 or priceless. They can be. It can be an amazing shift when people really show up and bring themselves. Even if you don't know what the heck you would talk about, don't worry. I am never at a loss for energy or direction. Sometimes the words need me to kind of feel around in there. So that's what we're doing. We are celebrating 150 episodes of Intuition, Your First Sense. So send over the review. You have to send me a copy of it. Let me know. Go sign up for the newsletter. Do something that lets me know that I'm helping you, that I'm serving you. And then I will have someone other than myself. We're going to put the names in a hat, do it the old-fashioned way, and pull it out, and then I will announce it. Well, you'll be contacted directly, so that's why I also need you to contact me directly. I need your information. And I look forward to gifting these things and to creating more content moving forward. There's going to be, I'm grabbing my list right now. Please hold. Somebody do the Jeopardy music, would you? So some of the content coming up is what is neuropathway work and how do I use it to get beyond the blocks and the core issues that are going on with you, how to connect with your own guides. I don't want to tell you about that one because it's such a fun one. I want to save it. What is the difference between faith and confidence? How can we free up your future from some of the limitations that you've learned or some of the blocks that you have on board, as well as talking about how to clear the blocks that are there, because there's some stuff you can do on your own that's really easy. And as a tribute to someone who sent me a beautiful email, how to feel when that's been shut down. And I know she listens, so that's coming up. Stay tuned. I'm grateful. Thank you for listening to this rambling episode, and I don't have words. I have a resonance for how my heart feels when I allow myself to be embraced and to really be impressed with all of your energies. I don't think there are human words, at least not in my languaging, that can express the level of amazement that I feel and absolute reverence to be able to connect with you in this amazing way that allows you to listen wherever you are and to be contributing to the whole universe that we have. Thank you for that. Thank you for being you. And please reach out and connect with me on all the social platforms. And I look forward to seeing you in episode 151. Take care. Thank you for listening to Intuition, Your First Sense. As always, please like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it. Leave a review and take a minute to share it with a friend. You can find me all across social media at Coach Vicki Baird, and you can book a virtual session with me from wherever you are in the world at vickibaird.com/booking. That's VICKIBAIRD.com/booking. Thank you again, and see you on the next episode.